Interest rates are high. Is it still possible to buy real estate and live there for less than I can rent a property for?
Young stallion, a 28-year-old guy, W-2 earner, coming from a high cost of living area. So coming from Seattle, Washington, already paying about $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom with his girlfriend, and wanted to reduce that number. Chris, if you're 28 years old, single, would you take this deal?
Yes, and I wish 28-year-old Chris Lopez did more of these a while back, so yes. So this podcast will be our monthly dive into a house hack deal that people are buying in Denver. So real deals for house hackers in 2024 Denver market. So we're going to review a duplex in this case study, and we're going to see if the monthly payments of the duplex is less, the same, or greater than the rent of a 1-bedroom apartment in Denver. So I'm joined by Jeff White with Envision Advisors, who's a broker and also a house hacker, and Troy Howell, NOVA Home Loans, who's our go-to lender for investors and house hackers. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So before we jump in this, quick disclaimer here, we're going to be sharing numbers, forecasting numbers, sharing data. Remember, we're giving you our best estimates on numbers, what we are forecasting for rents and growth and things like that. But we are not your financial, legal, or tax advisors. So make sure you talk with your team and always do your own due diligence on the numbers. If you guys ever want to do a deep dive into numbers or ask us how we get things, reach out to us. We'll definitely let you know. And a big thank you to Troy and NOVA Home Loans for being one of our sponsors for all of our house hacking content here and the meetups, the podcasts, and a lot of the cool events we do. So the key point here, that we get asked a lot with investors around Denver is interest rates are high. Is it still possible to buy real estate and live there for less than I can rent a property for? So rather than talking theories, we're going to be talking real deals. So Jeff, give us the profile of the client here, because paint us a picture about who this person is and then what their goals are, what their challenges are, so people understand what this investor wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So young stallion, a 28-year-old guy.
He'll appreciate that when he watches the podcast.
Has a girlfriend, W-2 earner, the solid job. She also house hacks. We've talked about in the past, actually, she closed on a house hack herself right before he closed, about a couple months prior. And that'll be another episode where I give relationship advice.
Right.
And worked out for this couple because they weren't married. And he bought one. She's buying this one in this example, and she bought one in the past. He was a good saver, had the down payment, he had reserves. And coming from a high cost of living area. So coming from Seattle, Washington, already paying about $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom with his girlfriend, and wanted to reduce that number. He understood Denver's also expensive, but he wasn't expecting to go from $2,800 to zero. He was like, I want to reduce this and start my house hacking journey. So that was his buyer profile. So he was very realistic in his goals. And he also kind of wanted to live in a more or less upcoming area close to downtown and within like 5-10 minutes downtown Denver. And Arvada fit the bill for this investor.
All right. And talk about the property you found and why a duplex, why Arvada, all those reasons.
Yeah. So he wanted his own space. So he was already living in a 2-bedroom in an apartment in Seattle and didn't want to live with roommates, at least not initially. He wanted to see if he could just reduce that number down as furthest as possible to make it comparable to like a 1-bedroom unit renting in Denver. And this property popped up because he has W-2, he did not want to deal with a fixer-upper, did not want to deal with something that needs a lot of work or something where he couldn't move in right away. So this one was perfect because it was a side-by-side. So you don't have the issues of the up-down situation with noise. And as you can see from some of the pictures, it's, your basic 60s side-by-side duplex with hardwood floors, newer appliances, and just nothing special about it, but rent ready. And that was the key thing he was looking for. And something, within 10 minutes of downtown Denver and right next to Old Town Arvada. So each unit was a 3-bed, 1-bath, almost 1,000 square feet. in-unit washer dryer, hookups, and off-street parking, and close to all the things that he was looking to do.
That's great. I mean, the property looks, like I said, it's it's rent ready. I mean, it looks like a solid property. It's outdated a little bit, but like that's not going to impact rents.
Yeah, no,
or significantly.
No, he just wanted something that was ready to go, and there's still some value add, but he wasn't looking to do value add right away. He just wanted something to get started.
No, that's perfect. All right, and a quick reminder here that if you're not plugged into our monthly House Hackers meetup, quick commercial here that we do a monthly meetup. Usually alternates between evenings and Saturday morning coffees once a month. So make sure you reach out to us or check our calendar for the next one. But a great way where we go for some case studies like this, but it's mostly just about getting people in the same room to do networking and share ideas. All right, so this client bought this property, Troy. Talk to us about the deal structure and the lending terms.
You bet. So excellent buyer, as Jeff had alluded to. He checked all the great boxes that we want to have. Good young investor, great W-2 job, had the money, had the great credit. So everything lined up rather nicely for him to acquire the property. Purchase price $655, and it appraised $5,000 over. Nice job, Jeff.
Yeah, that's my magic.
It comes in a little bit over on top of negotiating an $18,000 seller credit.
Yep.
So utilize that towards, we did a 2-1 buy down.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So he did a temporary buy down and plus covered the closing cost. But yeah, 5% down payment, and his all in was just about $35,000, $10,000 deposit, 24,000 and change at closing. So pretty efficient deal for him.
Oh yeah, especially for a multifamily. It's been one of the great things. Like, I mean, the amount of multifamilies that we've sold to House Hackers this year with the market conditions and
the new lending,
the new lending guidelines that came out
down.
a year ago have just been phenomenal. So like we're seeing so many more multifamily deals like this. But a $650,000 duplex for $35,000 cash to close just went on leverage right there.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Optimal house hack.
But of course, we don't want to just have low money down. We want to make sure it's low money down on a good investment.
Correct.
There have been people out there, hey, low money down on a poor investment. And that's not what we are advocating. Hey, we love having, the low down payments, high leverage deals like this. But we want to make sure the deal pencils out.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through some spreadsheets here, and we're just going to talk high-level numbers on here because a lot of people are driving or multitasking. So we'll give the high-level numbers on here. But if you want the details, email us, and we can share those with you. And then also we're going to be using Troy's spreadsheet, which is something I think we published about 2 months ago. And it's a really cool spreadsheet Troy's built to analyze properties. But it helps you compare while you're living there and then once you move out. So it's a very easy way to compare it in one spreadsheet versus making 2 spreadsheets, which gets a little clunky and annoying. So great spreadsheet. All right, Jeff, can you see those spreadsheet numbers from where you're at? How good's your eyesight?
Yeah,
sitting on the bed again. All right. So we're going to talk about living there with no roommates.
No roommates.
So set this up and talk about the numbers.
So it's 3-bed, 1-bath each unit. So 6-bed, 2-bath total for this duplex. His initial goal was just to reduce his living costs from that $2,800 to is like below that number. That was a very simple goal.
You said $2,800 was the goal?
Below $2,800.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what he was paying in rent in Seattle, Washington. So
for a 2-bed, 1-bath.
For a 2-bed, 1-bath. Now he has a 3-bed, 1-bath by himself, with girlfriend hanging out sometimes. Basically, he wanted something that would achieve the highest and best use of the property. And what's the highest and best use for this particular property is definitely Section 8 because they pay by bedroom count. And the city of Arvada right now for a 3-bedroom is $2,874 for each 3-bedroom unit. So if you look at it and you annualize that $2,874 times 12, you get about $34,000 gross rents, minus some vacancy rate of 2%. And then you go down, look at the operating expenses. You got to hold usually 5 to 10% for reserves. You got to throw in utilities, insurance, taxes, water, sewer, trash. So once you get down to the most important number is that bottom net cash flow number. at the bottom there, and it is little under 2,100. So no roommates, just renting one side out. His net cost to live in a 3-bedroom unit is under $2,100. So I would say that is checks the boxes for him, because he got to reduce his living cost. He gets a 3-bedroom unit coming from a 2, and with the option still to add more value and even have roommates if he wants to decrease that number.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great play. And like I said, it meets his financial criteria where, hey, it's less than he's paying for rent. That's a huge win. And he's building equity. So fast forwarding, hey, if he decides to have that, the privilege of, hey, having more comfort, more privacy, great. He's going to pay a little bit more for his living expenses. But so even for a year, hey, he's paying $2,000 a month to live there. The next column in the spreadsheet is upon move out. And you get the same assumption of, hey, just rent out the other side at Section 8 Section 8 rental rates for about $5,750 a month in rent. Well, now the property's cash flowing $1,000 a month, which is amazing. Yeah. Do you remember what the interest rate was on this, Troy? And was this based off like the par rate, or was this based off of the
it was based on the bought down.
Okay.
Jeff had generated that $18,000 credit, so it was slightly bought down. And off the top of my head, 6 3/8.
Okay.
On a 30-year fixed is where he ended up at.
He did a 2-1 buy down, not a permanent buy down, right?
He did a slight buy down and then a 2-1 buy down.
Okay. So yeah,
there was a little bit of cost. We didn't.
This spreadsheet is off of
the full
6.
price. Yeah.
375.
Oh,
right?
so this is off the par rate.
So that's
off the par rate.
Yeah. So his numbers will actually be even better than what you see here. So this is like, if you looking at it, it's always good to look at it conservatively, because it will be at that 6.375.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally
Not
agree
just
with you.
big-
Well, just a little bonus in there.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, we were talking earlier. Hey, we can always massage the numbers the way you want to, right? And I think I agree. This is the accurate and realistic conservative way to underwrite.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it should be higher cash flow with a lower interest rate. Awesome. So we'll move in the second option here, but before we do, we are going through a lot of numbers, a lot of scenarios, a lot of options on here, and this is why we always offer like our strategy business plan sessions. Us on the brokerage side, Troy on the lending side, and of course, we a lot of times work very closely together as we're helping clients navigate their first or next property. So, guys, everyone sit down with any of us to sit down and talk strategy and what type of properties can buy in the marketplace. Let us know. We love meeting with people, and also this is how we get the privilege of doing deals with people as well. So you can always reach out to us or just click on the link below to come schedule time with us, because we will sit down to help you find properties that fit your buy box like we're describing, and then run different scenarios on, hey, should I do a 2-1 buy down? Should I do this? Should I do this? And hey, let's look at living there with no roommates. And then option 2, hey, we're not the other side of Section 8. But then get 2 roommates in your side of the duplex. And Jeff, what does that do to the numbers?
Oh my God. So now
it makes Jeff really happy.
Yeah,
Right?
that makes Jeff excited.
So strategy is not for everyone, but if you're a young stallion like this buyer here, and you're open to a couple roommates that you get to choose and pick out, not just some frat boys from your college days that trash a place. You could screen them well. These are young professionals, or more professionals, like 22 to 36-year-olds in general. That's the demographic in general. The difference is now you're renting 2 rooms in that 3-bedroom side. So his side, so $1,600 per month extra on top of that, $2,874, total of $4,524 per month. And now your net cash flow living there, so he's only paying a little under $500 a month for his own unit after all expenses, including utilities. And I would say, Chris, if you're 28 years old, single, would you take this deal?
Yes, and I wish 28-year-old Chris did more of these a while back. So yes.
And then the second column, so that's all. With any house hack, you always want to look at it living there and after moving out. But the more important number is after moving out. While living there, you're trying to reduce or eliminate your housing costs. That's the first goal. But the second, or goal 1B, when goal 1A is that, so 1B is going to be cash flow. You want to generate income for these properties. That's why they're called income properties. And the net cash flow on this number is this, again, the highest and best use is 2 Section 8s at 2874 times 2. So your net cash flow is the same as what we just showed on the other slide, or a little over $1,000 per month. And Troy, what's the cash on cash return on this guy?
Cash on cash return. You want the first year?
Second year.
Second year
No,
for sure is 25% and change.
Yeah, and how many years would it take him to pay back all his down payment, closing cost?
Oh my gosh.
Man, he's putting you on the spot, Troy.
Yeah, why do you do all the math equations for me, Jeff? So cash flow before taxes, I mean, shoot, less than 3, no, 2 years. Just a little over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, 3.
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
$35,000 down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3
because
years,
the first year is a little bit off. And then, 3 years, a little over 3
And then,
years.
Chris, where do rents go historically in general?
They
The last 40
usually
years.
Appreciate.
Oh,
that
that's
increase.
that was a softball
Yeah.
question for
I
Chris.
get
Come on.
I get the hard ones here.
Yeah,
I do
thanks
try
a
to-
lot.
They go up. I mean, almost pretty much they go up every year. This year we talked about on Monthly Market Podcast. We've seen a little bit of softness, but
Right.
they usually go up. But this is why we have conservative underwriting. And even though he has a lower interest rate for this 2 years, we're still using the long-term par rate to help offset anything. And, so I want to highlight here because, we taught class last night and I got this question as we were networking afterwards. And someone said, I have I want to upgrade my 3-bedroom house to a 4-bedroom and then rent it out by room by room. And I was like, well, you're right at that point where it may not make sense to do it. And I assume this is the case while we're looking at this 3-bedroom as well, because we say room by room rentals are the best cash flowing properties, generally speaking. But there's a threshold. You have to have enough rooms to make it worthwhile. So in this case, hey, 3 bedrooms are rented out at $825. That's about $2,500 a month in rent. Or hey, one family or one resident, and you can be at $2,800 or $2,900.
Yeah.
Well, what's easier from like a self-managing standpoint? One lease, one tenant versus 3 leases. Hey, we do room by room. Usually if it's like a 5 or 6 bedroom is usually where it makes a lot of sense to like have the sweet spot.
Right.
So this is a great example about how, the team here and this investor has optimized the strategy based on, hey, are they living there? Or are they not? And what's the best use for the property?
And that brings up a good point too, Chris. So this is any of these properties, you always want to have kind of strategy 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
So this is, strategy 1. His backup strategy, rent by room works just fine too. And then strategy 3 could be Airbnb. Arvada allows Airbnbs as investment properties. Strategy 4 is what we talked about on the last podcast. You could do midterm. I mean, there's so many ways to approach it, but you don't want to just be all in. If you say you put all your eggs in the Airbnb basket, it's like what happens when like a city of Littleton changes their mind a year later and says, oh yeah, you can't do Airbnb as investment properties. So it's always good to be able to pivot and change and have multiple ways to generate cash flow, especially after you move out. And then that's how you become a successful long-term investor.
Yep. And we've had clients too that have mixed that up. They'll have Section 8 for one part of the house, and then they'll rent by room the other.
Yep.
So you can mix and match.
So going back to the opening question here, and I'm going to give Jeff the hard question here, Troy.
Please. Thank you.
So the goal here was to live for less than $2,800 a month.
Yes.
Base his options as he achieved that goal, Jeff.
He achieved it, even with 0 roommates. And Troy, what's the? No, I'm just kidding.
What's the? Yeah.
So he achieved it. So with no roommates, or even better with roommates, reduced even more. But because he has a solid W-2, he has that option. He's not quitting his job and saying I'm going all in on being a landlord investor. He's keeping the W-2, building a portfolio, using the house tax stack method over time to increase his portfolio with him and his girlfriend until they get married. But I told him to delay it. So
Buy houses, get married later.
yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is, just a great win for the client. And, kind of goes back to where, hey, he's got some options living there. They both meet their goal. And depending on how comfortable he wants to be, hey, he has the luxury of bringing less rent for his comfort. And that works for buying the next house hack. Awesome. So it really depends on your finances and how comfortable you want to be or don't want to be. So, overall, huge success. Great job, Jeff, for finding the property. Troy, great job for structuring the loan and making sure the numbers work, at par. And he's got the nice cherries on top of the 2-1 buy down from Jeff's seller concessions. But I think this is just, I mean, a home run deal for him. It checks off the major boxes, it seems like.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah, he's very satisfied, very happy, and it's a great property to step into for your very first house hack. Something that's it still needs a little value add, but doesn't need like a full rehab or anything like that. He could just move in tomorrow, and that's another big thing he checked off that box. And long term, he could make it better if he wants to. Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, the only thing that always jumps out at me is when we run these numbers is that forced savings that occurs in there, because that principal reduction, the first payment out, like this analysis here, or this sheet we're looking at, it shows maybe $500, but in reality, $560 and change with the first payment is going towards principal reduction.
Yeah.
So I know our return on investment is calculating that in there, but when you look at just the breakdown of the cash flow month to month, I mean, I always look at it as like some of that money is going to be seen again, right? That's like you've said, your real estate piggy bank.
Yeah,
your
exactly.
equity piggy bank. So he's really cranking it there too. He's saving money from rent that was just going out the door to where he's putting money in the bank for himself with his real estate portfolio and that equity. So that's huge. So it's cash flowing on top of the savings that's coming in there with it.
And the other final piece I'll say is taking action. So it's nice to listen to podcasts. It's nice to read books. It's nice to talk to investors, network. All that's great. But if you pull the trigger and make it happen, you'll get more education in that first year than all books, podcasts that you listen to easily.
Well, and then when they have the support that you provide is huge.
Yep.
Because when they're closed, you have a lot of clients that are still coming back to you, talking to you, and you're helping them out.
Yes.
Helping them with their Section 8, helping them with their rent by rooms. So there's a lot of support within our system.
Yep. We definitely want to ensure that everything gets stabilized and optimized, and I'm here
They're taken care of. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, everyone out there listening, thank you for tuning in. If you have questions on this deal or want to go out there and, have a strategy session with us, reach out. Otherwise, Jeff, Troy, thanks for coming to the studio. Thanks for bringing an awesome deal for us to talk about. It was another great deal.
Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we'll see you guys next month.